3, 2, 1.
Hans, Bobby, I'm your white knight.
Want to get your hands on some sports knowledge?
Hell yes!
You're in the right place.
Good morning.
Is everybody ready?
Welcome to the Daily Sports Watch on Schultzy Sports.
What is up, sports fans? How y'all doing today? 12:06 Thursday, February 23rd, Friday Eve. What is going on, everybody? Thanks for checking in. This is the Daily Sports Watch here on Real Schultzy Sports. I love it. Already getting questions about the snow. Yes, we have snow here in Portland, Oregon. Any snow in Oregon? Ask John Weisbecker. Absolutely. Coming at you on a snowy day. A very, very snowy day here. Actually, lots of snow coming down. This wasn't just like a dusting or half an inch. I mean, I'm about 10 miles, maybe 15 miles south of Portland, Oregon. The metro area in Portland actually got about anywhere from 5 to 8 inches, depending on where you were, like right or left side of the city. Down south, pretty much looking at about 2 or 3 inches, but it was still a lot, and a surprising morning to wake up to, just seeing that dusting, or I guess not a dusting, but a whole blanket of white. Just absolutely gorgeous. Nutty Nate says, what up, Schultzy? Glad I'm off work early enough to catch the new programming. Appreciate you, Nutty Nate. Thank you guys so much. Yes, this is the new show here on Real Schultzy Sports, the Daily Sports Watch, coming at you with live and awesome sports talk every single day. We got the daily playbook coming up here in just a couple of minutes. The top 5 sports stories every single day. The benchmarks for today are going to be awesome. I got my Wacko of the week and something pretty serious to say about that, honestly. You know, usually the Wacko of the week is going to be like some fun idiot in the world of sports, but sometimes it's going to end up being an absolute ridiculous moron, just stupid I don't know. I could start to say some really dirty things, but I'm not going to. I try to keep this family friendly. So yeah, the head coach of the Alabama basketball team going to get the Wacko of the week, and we're going to talk about that coming up here. Yeah, Nate Oates, he's an idiot, and we'll just kind of leave it at that and give you a tease there. But a lot coming up as well this weekend. Of course, this is Friday Eve, and usually only do the show Monday through Thursday. Sorry about yesterday. Had some major technical difficulties when I was not able to get on the air, but excited to do this Monday through Thursday and get this out as a podcast as well. But every Thursday doing a segment called What's Schultzy Watching This Weekend, and a lot to watch, actually. I don't know if y'all have seen the new golf show about the PGA Tour on Netflix. Looks pretty fun. Full Swing. Got released a couple weeks ago on Netflix. Looks absolutely entertaining. I'm one, and I think all y'all sports fans are ones as well, that love to see the background lives of these guys, what's going on behind the scenes, really just what life is actually like for somebody in the world of professional golf or trying to become a professional golfer. So 10 inches central Wisconsin the last 2 days, talking about snow, says Ryan Emery. That's crazy. And then Zeus Deuce says, that's funny. Checking in. Asheville, North Carolina, 75 degrees. 75 degrees and sunny. I think we're all jealous of you, Zeus, that's for sure. Dustin Lawley says Full Swing is amazing. Heck yeah. So we're going to talk about Full Swing coming up in what I'm watching this weekend, as well as a couple other dating shows. I mean, I don't know y'all get sucked into those dating shows, but my wife and I have recently on Netflix, and I'm going to kind of break down one particular one, as well as all the sports I'm watching this weekend. Of course, you got the Honda Classic going on, spring training happening. I think the Mariners actually opening up tomorrow, one of the only two teams to do so, to actually open up spring training. Excited about that. But coming at you from, once again, a snowy, about 29 degree Portland, Oregon or so. Get that nice snow in before the spring gets here. One thing the snow ended up doing, actually, it is sports related to bring it up, kept the Portland Trailblazers, of course, NBA play resuming after the All-Star break today, kept the Portland Trailblazers from taking off. They were stuck on the tarmac, and albeit, planes for athletes are a lot better than planes for us normies. If you don't have the private jet money like athletes do, you don't know what it's like to fly in these nicely, very, very luxury chartered jets. And for an NBA team, it's probably the best situation out of any of the professional sports, because you've got the least amount of players on a team. In the NFL, you got 53 guys plus a massive coaching staff and media and all kinds of other company employees that you got to bring. In baseball, it's half that size. You got a 26-man roster and then a bunch of coaches and media and other assistants that you have to bring. And in basketball, the least amount of players that you have to transport, around 16 usually. I don't know if they allow you to bring your two-way guys with you on the road, like during the playoffs where you'd have to transport 18. But usually it's just a max of 16 guys, and you've got about the same number of coaches you have on a baseball team on a staff of an NBA team. So it's a lot more comfortable for an NBA team to travel. But the point of this is that the snow ended up keeping the Blazers from taking off. They fly to Sacramento, actually. I think they ended up flying late last night, but they do play the Kings tonight, but were kept on the tarmac for quite a bit, so it was pretty funny to see the snow. Blazers are all good and everything, and they got there safe, but it was funny to see that. If you go on Twitter, you can see Dame posting some freestyle raps, Instagram as well. It was pretty awesome, but it made me think of another story, Portland Trailblazers related, in the news today, and wanted to kind of just get this off my chest quickly in the opening monologue before we get into the daily playbook, and that is the whole situation with Gary Payton Jr. and the ominous Toradol shots that the Portland Trailblazers gave him before they traded him to the Golden State Warriors, and apparently forcing him to play before he was ready, kind of damaging those goods that the Warriors acquired in that trade for 5 second-round picks and Kevin Knox. What's going on, Center Hill Cards? To say, Jordan, nice to finally catch one of your new episodes. I appreciate that, man. It's kind of been just setting up the show. It's been a little back and forth and very clunky trying to get it going, but excited. We'll have a full week next week, and hopefully every week after that, really just kind of figuring out how the flow works and getting this going. But we're doing it. But anyways, as far as the Gary Payton situation, really quickly, wanted to talk about what he said. And actually, it was pretty telling. Gary Payton II, didn't really talk to the media much in Portland. He did on media day, but he was injured a lot. So we hadn't really heard from him locally. But coming out after that initial report when he was traded from the Blazers to the Golden State Warriors, Shams Charania and I can't remember the other name of the reporter, but both associated with The Athletic, coming out saying that the Portland Trail Blazers had forced him to come back from, it was a core injury. He had surgery basically on his abdomen. And I just had hernia surgery, so I'm no athlete. I know that is a long recovery trying to get your core back. And if you're an NBA player, I can't even imagine the kind of strength that you've got to have coming at you, guys, different angles that you've got to turn at, all sides that you've got to be ready for. So it's a tough injury to come back from, and I understand why it took so long after the summer surgery. The Blazers signed him to a 3-year, $8 to $10 million a year contract, knowing that he would be out. But the rumors kind of coming out after that trade to the Golden State Warriors that the Blazers maybe pushed him a little bit too far. And then the full report, only with sources, anonymous sources as the claim, basically saying, hey, Gary Payton was pushed to play too soon in Portland. He was given Toradol shots he shouldn't have been. And the Portland Trail Blazers medical staff really actually did not do him right, and the Portland Trail Blazers withheld this information from us when they traded Gary Payton to us. That's at least what the Golden State Warriors claimed. And that was supported by the anonymous sources that Shams Charania put into that article in The Athletic. Well, now coming out today, it was this morning around 8 or 9 a.m. that I saw this Pacific time, that Gary Payton said he's a competitor. He simply did not get forced back onto the court. He wanted to play. He wanted to contribute. He wanted to be on the team, not just sitting there making money, but actually playing. Good for him for coming out and saying that. So essentially, after his agent already came out and quashed the rumors and reports from anonymous sources that the Portland Trail Blazers had forced him back onto the court too soon, Gary Payton did admit to taking Toradol, but it was at his own discretion. The Blazers did not force it on him. It was at his own discretion, and it was not shots of Toradol. It was not shots. It was simply a pill. So he was like, yo, no shots. I did not do that. Here's a quote. Me just being a competitor, I wanted to get out there. No shots, though, Payton said after the Warriors practice. I just had to get through it and get it done. The medical stuff wasn't that big of a deal. It's a quote. It's what he said. I wanted to play and go out there and help my teammates and coaches. I was a bigger factor on the court than off the court. Me being 50% is better than nothing. And through all that happening, through Gary Payton being the competitor that he is, unfortunately, this story comes out and makes the Portland Trail Blazers look bad, albeit temporarily for a couple of weeks. But what it really does make look bad, and I addressed this last week on What's Grinding My Gears, is anonymous effing sources in the world of sports, in the world of news. I can't stand them. I think they're ridiculous. And if you are an anonymous source and it comes out to be like proven that what you said was just absolutely wrong, personally, I think that the journalist or the reporter, whoever quoted you or quoted that source, should have to reveal who you are. Because honestly, more often than not, I think we'd find that these sources aren't actually that strong, aren't actually that connected to the teams or to the players that these quotes are being made about and these stories are being written about, or it's just straight up BS. And you can call anything a source nowadays. I think a lot of different journalists are using that term loosely, and I think this story highlighted the lack of credible journalism really in the world of news today. I mean, sports and regular news, obviously, whole different topics, but intersecting the way that they do in this kind of regard, because it's just complete BS, Bolshevik. It's not real. And this source coming out and saying all this about Gary Payton being forced to play, it didn't happen. He's coming out and saying that is the best way to put that story to bed. And I just can't stand when anonymous sources rule the news and when they make big, flashy headlines that don't actually really prove to be true. They move the needle for a second, but they end up just wasting our time and making us clamor over nothing. And in the world of just trying to get clicks, you know what? You know why people are doing that, but it's still annoying and it's still ridiculous. And I can't stand it. Hate it. Done with it. Glad that Gary Payton came out today, put that story to bed after his agent did, and honestly made not only the Golden State Warriors look bad, but the reporters in that situation looks bad. Tim, San Francisco Giants mem in the chat, what's going on? Says, glad we got Gary Payton back. That's right, man. Gary Payton is legit. Happy that he is at least hopefully going to be healthy soon. He tried to contribute for the Blazers, but the Golden State Warriors going to be holding him out for a month or so more before he might be ready to play and contribute for them, hopefully going into the playoffs. I love it, guys, talking about where they're living. We got Silver Slugger in here, Jay Frick, Nutty Nate, John, Trey checking in. Appreciate you. Trey said, the man, the myth, the legend. Are we going back to the Wings tonight for our gambling play? We'll check in with my daily D-Gen picks later on, but I'm not going Red Wings tonight. I'm going back to NBA for both of my picks since the league is back in action tonight. Yes, the All-Star game and the week off that gives the players is over. Now we finally get back to some real competition, and I'm excited about that. So we got a bunch to talk about along with what I'm watching and those daily D-Gen picks. But first, it is the top 5 sports stories of the day in the Daily Playbook.
Looking for the top 5 sports stories of the day?
Can someone please tell me what's going on?
Information is power.
News.
And boom goes the dynamite.
Look no further.
Okay, settle down, Spaz.
It's the Daily Playbook on the Daily Sports Watch.
Number 5.
All right, the number 5 story in the world of sports today. Had to throw this in for all the sports collectors out there. That is right. Sabrina Ionescu's rookie card becomes the first WNBA card of all time to sell for over 5 figures. Oregon Ducks legend, New York Liberty WNBA player. Her 2020 Panini Prism WNBA Black Gold rookie selling for $10,800 at auction. The first time in history that a WNBA trading card has reached 5 figures. Pretty cool to see. Love to see people actually putting some interest in that. And not only just the WNBA overall, but Sabrina Ionescu is so good. And of course, that black gold means there's only 5 of them, numbered to 5. We all know that if we're all sports card collectors here. If you aren't, that number is for black and gold cards out of the Prism set for 2020. That is a card numbered to 5 and 5 only. But industry insiders believe the demand is going to exceed the supply due to the excitement surrounding the upcoming season, with Ionescu hopefully winning another MVP and being the star of the New York Liberty. So congrats to Ionescu for adding another facet to card collecting. I think that's a pretty cool story. Number 4 story in the world of sports, the Atlanta Hawks firing head coach Nate McMillan on Tuesday, appointing Joe Prunty as interim head coach. New general manager Landry Fields beginning a search for the permanent replacement. Quinn Snyder at the top of that interview list. Other candidates expected to be Charles Lee from the Milwaukee Bucks, as well as Kenny Atkinson from the Golden State Warriors. This morning, not surprisingly, Ime Udoka, former Boston Celtics coach, being attached to that conversation as well. Snyder, very successful coach in Utah. He's going to be the leading candidate for that job. 6 consecutive appearances in the playoffs in the Western Conference under Quinn Snyder, the Utah Jazz had. They actually got to the semifinals 3 times as well during that stretch. Prunty hasn't really been much of a head coach in the NBA. He was with Nate McMillan in Portland and ended up essentially moving along with him to Indiana and Atlanta. I think he had like a 40-game stint as an assistant coach, filling in as an interim head coach at one point for like the Milwaukee Bucks. I think it was like when they fired Jason Kidd a few years ago. And Nate, he's been a coach for the Blazers, the Supersonics before they became the Thunder, as well as the Indiana Pacers leading up to this. A serviceable head coach, but not sure he's actually going to end up getting another shot. And we'll see where the Atlanta Hawks are going to go from here. Story number 3 in the Daily Playbook. Aaron Rodgers emerging from his retreat in Southern Oregon. He recently completed a 4-day, 4-night retreat, spending time in darkness, isolation, was telling people he was going to do that on the Pat McAfee show before entering the retreat. He mentioned that it was not just to figure out if he's going to play for the Green Bay Packers or not, or move on, maybe retire. He wanted to maybe figure out some other things in his head, not just the football side of things. Still under contract for about $60 million with the Packers. And if he plays next season, that salary is fully guaranteed. And the president of the Packers still says that he wants to try and keep Aaron Rodgers. Not sure if he's going to end up back in Green Bay. I personally think he's going to end up in Vegas. This 300-square-foot room at the Sky Cave Retreats that Aaron spent his time in had no light, but included amenities such as a queen bed, bathroom, and a meditation mat. Lights could be turned on from inside the room itself, so if he wanted the light, he could have it, but Knowing Aaron, knowing what he does, I would assume that he spent as much time in the dark trying to chill out as possible. All right, number 2, Brock Purdy's UCL surgery pushed back. Swelling in his right elbow needs to go down before he undergoes surgery to repair that torn ulnar collateral ligament. The procedure, which was initially scheduled for Wednesday, has been delayed until March due to that swelling. It could push back the start of his regular season. And in the meantime, Trey Lance is expected to take over the number 1 quarterback duties. I wonder if that's going to push Trey Lance cards back up a little bit. I don't know. As I hold a PSA 9 stained glass rookie card, I hope so. So, adding to the quarterback drama in San Francisco is Brock Purdy's surgery delay. Is he the answer in San Francisco? I'm starting to see a number of reporters asking that question and really wondering if that is going to be the truth and the answer for them at the quarterback. All right, number 1 story in the world of sports today. The Denver Broncos made a decision at the defensive coordinator position, going to hire Vance Joseph, former head coach of the team. He coached the Broncos in 2017 and 2018 before being fired following a 6-10 season, resulted in 3 consecutive missed playoffs after winning Super Bowl 50. He had spent 4 seasons as defensive coordinator for the Arizona Cardinals. Since then, there were a bunch of candidates. We talked about Rex Ryan, the footman, being interviewed, Sean Desai, Christian Parker, Mike Zimmer, all interviewing for that role. And Ivero going to the Carolina Panthers, getting that defensive coordinator position. He actually had interviewed for that as well. Or excuse me, he was there and then left, and that job now went open. So all those guys got that interview, essentially why they needed to fill that position under Sean Payton. But it was a very highly ranked defense under Ivero. So can Denver actually keep that up under Sean Payton? I don't think that's been the issue. Obviously, they need to figure out what the hell they're doing with Russell Wilson and the offense going forward. But if they get Jerry Jeudy back from injury, I don't think that's going to be too big of a problem. And also, really quick, kind of a 1A story in the world of sports. The Baltimore Ravens hiring former college coach Willie Taggart, and he is connected to my Oregon Ducks, so I got to talk about this. Honestly, I find this hilarious, but there's a reason that he was hired to be the Ravens running back coach, because he's got a connection to the Harbaugh family. So the Ravens officially hiring former college coach of the Florida State Seminoles, of the Oregon Ducks, and a couple other smaller college programs, Willie Taggart, to his first NFL job. Yeah, he coached at Western Kentucky, South Florida, and Florida Atlantic, as well as Florida State and Oregon, and was actually set to join Deion Sanders in Colorado in the Pac-12, returning possibly to play Oregon before taking on the Ravens role. And actually, I'm kind of glad he's not going to be in the Pac-12. Seriously, good riddance. I don't really ever want to see you in a stadium ever facing off against the Oregon Ducks, because you suck, and I don't think you deserve to be there. However, as a coach, he does have a long-standing reputation of getting players better, especially at the running back position. It's what he emerged as initially when he started as a coach in the early 2000s. He played quarterback at Western Kentucky and then became a graduate assistant, and from there kind of went on to start coach wide receivers and running backs, and really took on the running back specialty until he became a head coach. And now he is forced back down to that. So Willie Taggart joining the Ravens doesn't move the needle. I don't know about that, but he has worked for Jim Harbaugh as well at Stanford, and that is why he was hired by his brother, John Harbaugh. All right, so that is the Daily Playbook. Now we get into the Wacko of the Week.
Of all the idiots, in all the idiot villages, in all the idiot worlds, you stand alone.
It's time for Schultzy's Wacko of the Week.
Wacko.
All right, Wacko of the Week this week. You know, usually this is meant to be a pretty funny segment, but not gonna lie, this takes on a bit of a serious tone this week. I don't know if you're living under a rock, you probably haven't heard, but if you haven't, you know that there's been a lot of really, really bad things surrounding the Alabama basketball program. One of their players, Darius Miles, being charged with capital murder recently. Him and another player being charged both with capital murder, and another player involved in that, actually, Brandon Miller, who is actually one of the best players in college basketball. Well, involved in that, but not getting charged. And some of the comments that Nate Oates made after that news came out that here, let's just set the situation. So essentially, Nate Oates had to come out for a press conference after this news came out about Darius Miles, and about the other player on Alabama that was charged with capital murder. Basically kind of an Aaron Hernandez situation. It was at a bar or outside of a bar near an area on a night where kids were out partying in a college town, right? That happens all the time. Brandon was hanging out with Darius at one point. Essentially, they separated. This is now shown in text messages that Darius Miles, and this is not related to any relation to the former Darius Miles in the NBA at all. This just happens to be the same name. Darius Miles texts Brandon Miller, said, "Hey, my piece is in your car. My gun is in your car. You need to bring it to me." And Brandon brought the gun to him. And yeah, Nutty Nate says, I don't think they can charge him unless they find out he knew what was going to be done. And you're right. And I'm not really talking about charges being brought here, and I'll get into that in a second, Nate. But essentially, Brandon bringing back a handgun to Darius Miles so he could commit this capital murder. And, I understand the legal system is the way it is. He's not going to get charged. However, it's not just the legal system that he has to answer to. He has to answer to his scholarship purveyors and the people that signed him to play for them at Alabama, the athletic department, for the Crimson Tide. You aren't supposed to be hanging around people like that. You aren't supposed to be acting like that as a college athlete and as one of the best guys, coming up in the NBA draft, essentially. It's very disconcerting to see a player connected to any kind of crime like that. When we heard the stories about Aaron Hernandez, it was like, holy S, this is bad. This is serious. This is as serious as it gets. This transcends sports. It's the world of life where we're talking about a dude getting upset because they get into an altercation over some egotistical BS. Aaron Hernandez shot a dude because some guy bumped into him. Like, are you kidding me? I don't know the details on what was argued about, but I'd venture to guess it wasn't much more than that. Usually isn't. And essentially, Brandon Miller going to get off scot-free, at least to this point. He played, hit the game winner in a nationally televised game last night. Went to overtime, was exciting, but he shouldn't have even been playing in that game. Before that game, Nate Oates, Alabama head coach, and this is why he gets Wacko of the Week, simply said that Brandon Miller was in the wrong place at the wrong time. He brought a firearm back to the person that committed the crime. I don't think he was bringing it back just to give it to him. Like, oh, here you go, man. Have a good night. I don't think he knew what was going to happen, but when he got there, there was some stuff going on. It was obvious. And why? Beyond all that, why are you putting yourself in a situation where you're hanging out with anybody that's got a gun that's going out to a club at night? It's just ridiculous. It's not the time you need a gun for. All right? So essentially what Nate Oates was doing with his comments, and he says to apologize, but it doesn't matter. We know what they actually want to do at Alabama, which is, if you're good enough, well, we're going to put you on the court no matter what you do. And if not, yeah, we're going to get rid of you, because those are the examples that we can use to say, well, we care about character. We want upstanding citizens to be playing for our teams. Well, unless you score 30 a game, or unless you throw 3 touchdowns a game, at that point, it doesn't matter. But that's what Alabama and Nate Oates were doing, putting athletics and profit before morality and human life. And that is one of the human race's most devastating and disgusting behaviors. The fact that Brandon Miller was able to play last night after bringing Darius Miles that gun, and then Darius Miles ended up committing a murder, is just flat out wrong. I probably sound like I'm getting up on a soapbox here. I'm not trying to do that, but come on, if it were any one of us, we wouldn't go to work the next day, right? Why is Brandon Miller special? Because he scores 30 points a game, right? I love sports, all right? I love the amount of coverage media gives star players, big events. It's why I'm doing what I do right now. But we cannot continue to just let stuff like this go as a society. Doesn't work like that. It cannot work like that. We're The human race will be extinct because of it. It shouldn't take a damn Twitter mob to make a coach apologize for sounding like an insensitive ass, right? I understand. Humans aren't perfect. I'm very fallible. I suck at a lot of things. We all suck at a lot of things. But there are some things in life that just are not acceptable. What Miller did in bringing that gun back to Darius Miles instead of driving home, and the fact that he's hanging out with him in the first place at all, and then what Nate Oates said in that press conference afterward should cost them both the opportunities at Alabama. They should both be gone. It's ridiculous. Brandon Miller wants to be a tough guy, hang out with dudes in college, waving guns around, going out on a Friday, Saturday night to the bar, then he deserves to have to start back over from the bottom. I'm sick and tired of young kids with all the talent, all the opportunity in the world. They end up blowing it by trying to act like a wannabe gangster. It's ridiculous. That's not a comment on culture. That's not a comment on anything but individuals' decisions. Why do you need a gun as a 20-year-old college bowler? Why? College is not the place for that. Guns should be used for two things and two things only by the public at large: self-defense and hunting. Why, after you get the chance of a lifetime to play ball at one of the best programs in the nation, do you feel the need to wave a freaking gun around and look cool and hang out with somebody like that? I mentioned Aaron Hernandez earlier. It sounds a lot like the situation surrounding his multiple accusations of murder. Ego, getting poked through, ruining a night for them, ends up ruining a life for somebody else, and ends up ruining the life for the shooter as well. It's just ridiculous. It's horrible, it's tragic, and it's foolish. What Darius Miles did is foolish and evil. And guess what, sports fans? The best college basketball player in this nation, whether he knew it or not, helped facilitate that act. And at this point, he ain't even going to miss a game. He should be kicked off the damn team. I'm sorry, people probably don't agree with that, but he should be kicked off the team. He should have to come out and explain in grave detail why he ever thought he needed to socialize with people who carry guns at night. For a night out, of all things. Thugs who just want to intimidate, I think we can all say they're just the scum of the earth. That's an easy statement to make. And Brandon Miller helped Darius Miles become that scum. And what Coach Oates said, and when he went out to say that he didn't have all the information afterwards in his initial press conference, in his apology, is just flat out unacceptable. It's ridiculous. It's gross. And that's why Nate Oates and the entire athletic department for the Alabama Crimson Tide, at least related to basketball, get this Wacko of the week on Real Schultzy Sports on Thursday, February 23rd. Unbelievable. So a little bit of a rant there, but I think it's serious, you guys. That's something that you can't just really wash over and say, well, you know what? He didn't know he was bringing the gun. Well, he's a really good basketball player. He's got to play. No, those kinds of decisions made by those kinds of people should have extra light put on them. And I agree that it would be a true waste of talent if he went to jail. But that should not be what defines what's happening with his life. That should his basketball skills should not define what happens to him. Alabama should cut him loose. Let him go. Tim, San Francisco Giants mem fan, says they would have lost by 20, Alabama would have, if they did not have him. Yeah, you're probably right. You are probably right. Scott56 says he should have to pay some kind of consequence. And Trey Conrad says the SEC plays by a different set of rules, Schultzy. I agree, Trey, and it sucks. It's not okay. Nobody should play by a different set of rules. And I know I sound like I'm getting up on a soapbox when I'm saying that, but I don't care. We have rules in this society. And when you end up breaking one of the most cardinal rules, which is murder, God, doesn't matter who you are. At least it should matter. All right, some lighter news. Shifting gears to some funner stuff. The XFL, week 2, coming at ya. This is the XFL. Did you watch week 1 of the XFL? I thought it was actually pretty exciting. Week 2 kicking off tonight. And there's one thing that the league is doing that I absolutely love. I mean, the team names are kind of whatever. You got the Battlehawks taking on the Sea Dragons tonight for your Thursday night XFL matchup. I'll probably check in. It's going to be on FX and ESPN Plus if you wanted to watch that. You'll probably check in to see that. But then Saturday, got the Defenders and Vipers. Sounds like a couple of cars. And then Sunday, the Brahmas taking on the Guardians. And then the Renegades being hosted by the Roughnecks. So, yeah, the team name's not so awesome. But there is one thing that the XFL's doing that I really love. And that is the transparency of the replay review process. It has been so improved. And essentially, it gives fans a front seat into what's happening on replay review. I love it. I think transparency is a great thing for the world of sports, and knowing what's happening, seeing what's happening as it's going on in the moment is another really cool thing that I think can bring more fans into the game every single day. You know, everyone's like, all right, we got to get our content on TikTok. We got to get content on Instagram as these sports leagues. Yes, you do, but what would be an even quicker way of getting young fans and fans that don't necessarily care about the world of sports in is letting them in to what's happening like this. And we'll talk about exactly what the XFL's doing. So Dean Blandino, former NFL head of officiating, he is the XFL's head of officiating for this new iteration of it, had cameras and a microphone on him in the replay booth, reviewing the replays and communicating to the referees on the field as it's going on what the correct call is. And you can hear Dean Blandino talking stuff out. And telling the referee why, hey, there's not enough evidence, simply put, to overturn that. I don't see it. And when you're hearing that, it to me, it really makes a lot of those questions go away about like things being fixed and things kind of being one-sided. I know a lot of people think I've been seeing, I think people are dumb, but since the kind of the memes and the laughable jokes about the NFL being fixed has come out, people have really tried to come out and say, on top of that, with concrete proof in their minds, even though it's not, that the NFL is fixed, and it's ridiculous. But I really do think these transparent review processes would really kind of kill that conversation and open up another facet of the game for fans. On that first replay review that Dean Blandino did, it was a pass that was ruled incomplete, but actually was complete, and Blandino, he fixed it quickly. You heard what was going on, and the process was fast and effective. Was innovative. Never done by the NFL before. Something the XFL actually, I would say, along with, what do they call that? The sky cam that you put over the field now that kind of captures like the over-the-top view of what's going on and gives you a nice, essentially you could do the same with like a drone now, but back then, this was revolutionary technology, and that was brought to mainstream broadcasting and media by the XFL. Well, if the XFL could take this piece and maybe convince all these other leagues, if they continue to do it well enough, to put it into their mode of operations, I think it would be absolutely outstanding for all sports. It's gonna bring so many more fans in. Full transparency replay is a great thing. The audience gets to watch what the refs making the call back in the replay booth are saying. They get to see the insight into the call, whether it's overturned or not, and they get to hear why. It's refreshing to see firsthand, like Dean Blandino getting to hear the words out of his mouth, hey, there's not enough evidence to overturn this catch, or hey, this is actually a catch, and we need to make that a thing now. I think it's extremely valuable to the viewing experience for all major sports. I mean, I love this inside view of sports. I love when we hear swear words and players and coaches arguing with referees. That's another story, though. I just love that kind of content, and I personally think that it is an absolute win for the XFL. And if the NFL and the NBA and Major League Baseball start doing that, I think their viewership numbers are going to go up. Tim San Francisco Giants mem says, but when Brock Purdy fumbled, they got 10 different views instantly. Yeah, and that's the thing too, Tim. I would love to see exactly what views the referees are getting. And that is one thing, Dean Blandino, you're looking at the monitors that he's looking at. You literally get to see what he's doing. It's almost like you're looking over his shoulder. It's a great modus operandi. I absolutely think that all sports should do this. What's going on? Anthony Lupicino says, yo, Schultzy. Good to see you, man. If you guys have any questions, you want to check in on with some topics or on the chat line, you can. I was about to call it the text line, but we're live on the internet, not on the radio. We don't have texting. We don't need it. And looking at, speaking of the XFL, looking at our poll question, are you watching the XFL this weekend? If you have not voted, go on in and check it out. Are you watching the XFL this weekend? 73% of you say no way. 27% of you say heck yes, excuse me. I would encourage you guys, maybe take 10 minutes, watch an XFL game, see if you like it or not. I'm not thinking that it's going to be this new major form of entertainment, but what I'm saying is they are doing things very well, and there are a lot of things I think that other sports and other leagues and other broadcasting entities could take from the XFL and really make it into something that makes their product better. Tim Newich says, what about Aaron Rodgers leaving his Southern Oregon dark retreat? What's up, Tim? Good to see you checking in. We talked about that a little bit in the daily playbook. Yes, Aaron Rodgers, 4 days and 4 nights in a dark room retreat. Ended up going to this retreat in Southern Oregon. It was a 300 square foot room at Sky Cave Rentals. No light, but included amenities such as a queen bed, a bathroom, and a meditation mat, although lights could be turned on from inside the room itself. I don't know, man. I'm not sure I could do 4 days and 4 nights in a room where I had no option to turn the lights on. If I could turn the lights on, that's a little bit different. It sounds like that it's kind of at your leisure whether or not you want to be in the dark or not. And I don't think Aaron Rodgers, knowing him, knowing his ayahuasca use history, I don't think he spent too much time in the light. He probably did stay in the dark. That's ridiculous. Oh, man. Danny Bonaducci led a comeback versus the Heinz Sports squad. I love it. All right. So, yeah, as far as Aaron Rodgers go, though, he's making $60 million coming up this year for the Green Bay Packers. If he leaves, he's probably going to end up getting somewhat near the same from the Raiders. I don't think they're going to end up trading him to the Jets. I just don't think they're going to do the same thing that they did with Aaron Rodgers that they did with Brett Favre. Why would you do the same thing twice? It ended up horribly for them. The whole Brett Favre saga was terrible, and Aaron Rodgers is, I don't know if you want to, I don't know. Do you think he's more talented than Brett Favre? That's a hard one to say. Yes or no, is he more talented than Brett Favre? I think he means more to the fans of Green Bay, though, than Brett Favre at this point. However, there are people on the team that really seem like they are ready to move on. I'm talking players. Talking when you got your running back coming out and saying Jordan Love is ready to start. Yeah, Aaron Rodgers probably ain't going to be making $60 million for the Packers next year, but he had 4 days and 4 nights in that Southern Oregon retreat to figure it all out. Hopefully his head is clear. Hopefully he knows where he wants to go from here. And pretty funny that it was in Southern Oregon. That retreat was actually in Southern Oregon. All right, so, yeah, like I said, I'm going to be watching the XFL a little bit this weekend. And one more quick note on the XFL. These extra football leagues, I really think they'd be more successful if they had the support of the NFL. It's something I said on my local sports radio station last week. I wish the XFL could be funded by the NFL and turned into like a minor league feeder system like the G League has kind of become for the NBA. It would work so much better. I know that NFL Europa didn't necessarily work back in the day, but I just don't think it's because it was done right. Now that we know that there is interest for the NFL in Europe, and hell, we might see a whole division in Europe. We might have a team in Germany. We might have a team in the UK. Might have a team in Belgium. I mean, it's getting to that conversation within maybe the next decade and a half. We might see actual NFL teams in Europe. And I think that a minor league system like the XFL is, for the NFL as the G League is to the NBA would be very awesome and very beneficial for all parties involved. It really gives that extra layer of competition for players after college to really get another chance at professional football. And the main argument against that, I actually was on a show with a former football player in the NFL, and he said, they don't want to do that because they don't need to spend the money. They've already got college football. as their minor league feeder system. And I agree with that, but I also don't, because college football, yes, now with basically what the transfer portal's become, turning into free agency and extra years of eligibility on top of the extra years of eligibility with COVID, guys are able to stay in college like 6-7 years at sometimes now. I mean, if they get injured, even longer. I've seen guys, there's a kid for the Oregon Ducks, Cam McCormick, just transferred away to Miami for his final season of eligibility to rejoin one of his former coaches, Mario Cristobal. That's a sore subject. But anyways, he is going to be ending up spending near a decade in college football because of injuries. And that's just the way that goes now, and that's awesome. But imagine that along with the XFL as a minor league system where guys could go in and you don't just have a 10-member practice squad. You've got a team of 40 players that, any of them could be signed to an NFL contract, or some are already associated with NFL rosters and could be called up. And they really didn't like this argument, the former football player, but I suggested kind of like remember in high school when you had like a junior varsity, like weekly quarter limit that you could play? I think in my high school's division or conference, we could play 5 quarters. So if you played on JV and varsity football, you could play 5 quarters in a week total. So you could play 3 quarters on varsity and 2 on JV, or vice versa, or 4 quarters for one and 1 quarter in the other, if that's how your coach wanted to shake it out. I don't see why that wouldn't be an issue for guys that are in the XFL coming up as injury replacements, getting a quarter or 2 extra of eligibility in an NFL for a weekly game. They're not going to be starting or playing the whole time, most likely. You're not going to see guys maxing out at 5 quarters very often playing like starters reps, I don't think. I think that this is a valid idea, and I think the system, it's not perfect in my head, but I think if the NFL actually bought into the XFL or any of these other leagues, the USFL, all that are trying to get going, it's the 3rd iteration of the XFL. If any of these iterations were actually supported by the NFL and funded by the NFL, and they were connected to NFL teams, like the NBA teams have G League teams connected to them, and it has become a minor league feeder of sorts, then I think it would be much more successful for all. But that's just my opinion. That's my take on things. And I do think that it's obviously got a lot of different kinks to work out. Even if the NFL were to buy a league like the USFL or the XFL, there's so many different things that would have to be fixed, and it is a lot more money. It is a lot more money, and the NFL would be footing the bill for that. That there's not really a bunch of cash that's going to be coming in from a minor league football league. It's just not going to happen. Or minor league football games, I guess I should say. But I still love the idea, and whenever I watch XFL games, it makes me think of that. All right. Speaking of the XFL, we got one coming up on Thursday night. Tonight, Battlehawks and Sea Dragons, the Seattle Sea Dragons. Yes, that is a team in the XFL. One of the things I'm going to be watching this weekend, but what else am I going to be watching this weekend? Let's find out.
See the game last night?
Which game?
Many of them.
What's Schultzy watching this weekend?
All right, this is a weekly benchmark every Thursday here on Real Schultzy Sports. What is Schultzy watching this weekend? A good chance to talk about anything coming up in the world of sports, or the really anything in general that you want to watch. I mean, I'm talking like Perfect Match on Netflix, a MILF Manor maybe on TLC, stuff that you want to watch. Talk about all of it. I have gotten into Perfect Match on Netflix, but before we get into that, of course, there is a ton of stuff to watch this weekend, including tonight. The Portland Trailblazers and the rest of the NBA back in action after the All-Star break, facing off against the Sacramento Kings. We kind of mentioned earlier about the Blazers getting trapped on the tarmac because of a snowstorm up here in Portland, Oregon. Snowy Portland. If I open this window behind me, you'd see there's about 2 inches of snow on the ground where I live, and we got about 6 to 8 inches around the rest of the Portland metro area, depending on exactly where you are. But along with the Blazers back in action against the Sacramento Kings tonight, you've basically got the entire league back in action. The Blazers are the nightcap against the Kings, but the national television nightcap, Lakers and Warriors. I'm probably going to be flipping back and forth between the Blazer game and the Lakers and Warriors. I want to see if LeBron's back now after the All-Star break. He was missing some games with that sprained ankle beforehand, and even without Steph Curry. I love watching Jordan Poole. I love watching the Warriors compete. I want them to lose. I still love watching them compete. And Lakers, Warriors, watching two teams that I hate with a lot of good players. I'm definitely going to be tuning in for that one. I love it. Brad Selden Esquire says 80 in Miami, brah. 80 in Miami? Damn you. Yeah, I think here it's like 30. Yep, 30 degrees. And I'm still getting an expect flurries in the next hour warning. That's where I'm at. Yeah, somebody else said 75 in Asheville. Asheville, North Carolina, 75 degrees. You lucky warm dogs, you. So yeah, the return of the NBA tonight. Going to be watching that. Couple other things on the schedule for this weekend. Of course, week 2 of the XFL starting tonight. Like I said, I'm probably going to be checking in briefly. I like some aspects of the league, but it's not really something I'm going to be following in earnest, especially because it's spring training time, baby. We got the Seattle Mariners opening up spring training play officially tomorrow against the San Diego Padres, signing Yu Darvish to that extension. He's going to be in his 40s when that thing ends. They also got Xander Bogaerts in the offseason. Going to be getting Fernando Tatis Jr. back at some point this year. So, are the Padres going to be the World Series powerhouse that people thought they were going to be a couple years ago? I don't know. But the Mariners are going to get their first dose of them tomorrow at 12:10, and I am going to be watching that one. Does it matter? No. Hell no. But I love my Mariners, and I'm excited to see them back in action. And honestly, I want to get as much viewing in of my team's stars as possible in their Mariners uniforms before they go off and play in the World Baseball Classic, which is going to be starting here in a couple of weeks. So spring training kicking off tomorrow. Excited for that. We got the NBA back in action tonight. And yeah, I'm not sure if I can watch that Mariners game, but, you know, still be listening. They did sign Cole Calhoun to a minor league deal, so hoping to see if he'll get a couple of bats or not. Oh, the Honda Classic going on this weekend as well. Billy Horschel and Joseph Bramlett already leading the field after day one action at 5 under. So that's going to be a nice one to just, Saturday morning, get some coffee. All y'alls that smoke doobies out there, roll yourself a doobie, open the window, pour that cup of coffee, and just turn on the Honda Classic. That's what I love about golf season, man. College football, yeah, you got college game day going on in the fall, but then coming into the end of winter, springtime, you got golf. And it is so relaxing, and I love to watch it every weekend that it's on. So the Honda Classic is going to be going on, as well as I got to catch up on the new season of South Park. I've watched the first 2 episodes, but got to catch up on that 3rd episode from Wednesday. Also, speaking of golf, very, very excited to check out the new series on Netflix. I don't know if you guys have watched this yet, but Full Swing, I saw somebody else when I mentioned it earlier in the chat say Full Swing is awesome. It's a new, highly anticipated documentary series chronicling the life of PGA Tour players on and off the course. It, I think, got dropped, a week ago, February 15th or 16th, and it had a bunch of hype with some scenes and some trailers shown leading up to it. I actually haven't really had time to sit down and watch it. I'm so excited. I think all 8 available episodes are available already. So you can binge them all, or you can spread them out. You don't have to wait for them. You can make the decision yourself. I am excited to get going on that. Apparently, there's a lot of great things in the series highlighted, like Mike and Justin Thomas's relationship, the importance of like each major event, the real grind, that golfers go through trying to get to the tour and trying to become major golfers at events like that. And then just watching the golfers in their normal lives too. Along with all that, just kind of showing what a roller coaster season is like in the world of golf, because you just don't really know. Unless you are a golfer, unless you follow that life as much as you follow like NBA basketball, NFL football, you know how those guys travel. You know how those teams travel. You don't really hear as much about how golfers live and players on the PGA Tour live. And this is a first-hand experience of that. And I absolutely love it. I'm excited. I love it. Tim says, puff, puff, pass. And Tim San Francisco Giant says, oh, we smoking a bleezy right now. I love it. Put on the Daily Sports Watch. Smoke a bleezy. And, along with all those sporting events to watch this weekend. So excited to catch up on the latest episodes that dropped of Perfect Match on Netflix. Oh my gosh, it is like a car wreck you can't turn away from. I'm serious, you guys. It is just something else, man. Basically, a bunch of hot young singles all put into a house. Not just a house, a beautiful mansion for, a month, maybe 2. And they all kind of have to pair up with each other in different ways. And only one couple can be voted the perfect match at the end. And like every other episode, they bring in like 2 new people of the opposite sex to the house to stir things up. So essentially, like, you don't get a guarantee to stay there. You might go home. You got to play dirty. Everybody on the show's acting dirty. And I don't know. It's just like a guilty pleasure of gratuitousness that my wife and I could not seem to turn off. And we ended up binging the first 4 episodes last weekend. And we're like, what is this? These people are hot. They're stupid. They're crazy. They're conniving. And I can't stand The Bachelor, but somehow I can stand that. So, Perfect Match on Netflix. Check it out. Go check it out. So that is what I am going to be watching this weekend. Couple comments in the chat. What's going on? Georgie J says, Schultzy, loving it, bro. So if I got to say, man, I appreciate all y'all supporters checking in here on the regular like you do. You guys have been absolutely insanely supportive of this Switch. Ryan Emery says, Perfect Match is a good blunt watch too. Good call, Schultzy. Hey, yeah, guys, if you wanted to spark one up, that's probably a decent one to do so too as well. Yeah, that's a good idea. That's a perfect show to just kind of have on and have entertaining you. I would recommend it. I really would. Yeah, and appreciate you, Georgie J. was saying, all y'all that are supportive in here of the Switch, from Schultzy's card pulls to Real Schultzy Sports. I appreciate it. You know, I'll be honest, I kind of had some second thoughts, like, should I have made a total switch and like stopped cards and tried to just do, a sports related channel as opposed to just cards and, lose a bunch of card centric fans? Like, that was a hard decision, but you can't really sit in between 2 niches. You can't do one or the other. You've got to, I would much rather be a sports channel posting a card rip every once in a while as opposed to a sports card channel trying to do a sports talk show. It just didn't really, make sense for my brand going forward. And I know a lot of people, they've posted their opinions on the quitting sports card video, just, telling me how terrible I am. And I get it. Y'all are entitled to that. But I do remember that most of those people making the comments are the ones that are the angry flippers that are not actually getting like $60-$70 a box for almost no effort anymore. And they got to go find a new job. So sucks to be them, I guess. And then they come out and take their anger on me. Mr. Prom says, are you done with the Target restock thing? It's not so much me being done with the Target restock thing, Mr. Prom. It's that Target themselves is done with the Target restock thing. They no longer really do the early morning drops. They have, since the first of the year, even with the last very valuable product that was on retail collectors' minds, which, at least in my opinion, was 2021-22 Mosaic basketball, I don't think that there's really any reason for people to buy retail past that. The Mosaic always has the Genesis and the Honeycombs included in it, and the Genesis are specific to retail only. You can get Honeycombs in hobby, but you can't get Genesis in hobby. So that is why the retail boxes offer a lot of value sometimes. However, the overprinting that's gone on with that just totally increased the count of hits, which at the same time, the card companies weren't putting as many of the big hits into those boxes. And now you see cards just sitting on the shelf for $29.99. I mean, I could go to Target.com right now and probably buy Mosaic Basketball 21-22 blasters. I don't think there's a shortage of them. There's no need for me, for people, to get that information from me anymore. And frankly, it was frustrating because I just felt a little used. And I think it's obvious now that, there were hundreds, if not thousands of people watching for sports card restocks. And I'm not trying to bitch. I'm just saying it's obvious that they were only there for sports cards and not really there to support me, because the true people here to support me are here right now. and I appreciate you. Not every single one. There's probably, I would say there's 200 or 300 people that are just solid. Like, Schultzy, I love you. I don't care what you're doing or talking about. I want to be there, but y'all have lives. Y'all have schedules. You can't be here at the same time every single day, and I got it. But that's why this is a live stream show, and this is a podcast as well. And speaking of that, guys, great news about the Daily Sports Watch. It is officially up as a podcast on all your favorite podcast platforms. You go to Apple iTunes Podcasts, you go to Spotify, you go to iHeart. All of those platforms, you can find the Daily Sports Watch podcast on any of those. So if you want to watch it on YouTube, you can, or if you just want to listen to it after the fact, you can do that as well. But I really appreciate you all. I hope that just saying that to you doesn't really disperse the audience. I need all the views I can get right now on YouTube because, as I was saying, all those people just kind of dumping it off. Oh, I can't get sports cards from Schultzy anymore. F you, man. I appreciate you. Trey says, Schultzy, if you build it, they will come. That's what I'm hoping for, and this really feels like, this feels good for me. This crowd right here is absolutely loving it, and I love you guys for loving it. Pastime with Mike says, is this live? Hell yes, Mike, this is absolutely live. This is a live show every day, Monday through Thursday anyways, at noon. This will be live. And yeah, David Lupo says 1,000% being used. He also says, I'm using you right now. Well, I appreciate that, man. Hey, people using me to listen to, that's great. That's how I wanted people to use me to listen to. That's what I was hoping for. So I appreciate that. And fist bump right back at you, Center Hill Cards. You guys are awesome. Just wanted to let you know that this is now a podcast that can be found. Just Google Daily Sports Watch or search for Daily Sports Watch on any of your favorite podcast platforms. You will be able to find that. And if you could do that, yeah, make sure you smash that like button here on the live stream and give me a 5-star review and smash that like and download and follow button on all those podcast platforms that you post on that you go and listen on. Would very much appreciate it. All right, we got one last segment to get through, and I think it seems like it's all your all's favorite segment. I hope it is anyways. It's time for the Daily D-Gen Picks. Hold on just a second. My sound didn't come up. Now we go. Daily D-Gen Picks. Here we go.
He's a degenerate gambler.
Cold hard cash.
All right, this is our Daily D-Gen Picks here on Real Schultzy Sports for Thursday, February 23rd. Let's start with our lean of the day. I appreciate you, Keds. Says good stuff. Yes, the schedule isn't as open as it was at 7 a.m., but you seem like a natural sports talk guy. I appreciate you, brother. That is too kind of you. Yeah, man. This is what I've wanted to do forever. This is always what I wanted to do. So I just said, you know what? Well, I'm just going to start effing doing it, man. It's just taking the jump, taking the leap. So I appreciate you, Keds. It's very kind of you to say. And your support means the world, brother. Blaze1 says, I'm also slowed down on the card content. Too much money, no hits. See, that's the problem, Blaze, and that's one thing with the card content. I will get into my picks here in just a second. I was trying to make videos and spending money on videos and getting mad when the hits didn't come and starting to stress if I didn't pull anything good that would make people want to watch or that would get my money back. And after a month and a half of doing that, I realized that is not the existence that I want to have. And honestly, I wasn't really getting many views on the card videos that I was doing anyways. So, it sucks. Unbelievable. Tim San Francisco Giants Mem says, let's go. Covered my parlay with straight bets, so still won money on the hockey pick. There we go, Tim. There we go. I appreciate it. All right, so we'll start with our lean of the day. Lean of the day. So far, 2-1 on leans of the day. Yesterday, it was technically Tuesday since I didn't stream yesterday. Sorry, guys. Just trying to clear the throat. Losing that voice. Losing it. Yesterday, 2-1 all time, but yesterday getting the win for the Detroit Red Wings money line versus the Washington Capitals, technically Tuesday. The Red Wings won 3-1. Red Wings get it 3-1 over the Capitals on Tuesday, so that was a win for the lean of the day. Today's lean of the day, coming out of the NBA, we are resuming National Basketball Association action tonight. So, my lean of the day going to be the Indiana Pacers hosting the Boston Celtics, covering the 9-point spread, and here's why. Their record ain't great right now, 26-34, but 18-14 at home. Lost 5 of 6 going into the All-Star break, pretty much falling out of the Eastern Conference picture, while the Celtics have the best record in the NBA, 42-17 overall, and on the road. They've got the best point differential in the NBA right now at plus 6.2. But 9 points is a massive number. All right, 9 is huge. That is a massive number against a pretty okay team that can protect its home court and that shoots pretty well. So I'm going to say that number is just too big. As good as Boston is and as mediocre as Indiana is, I still think they can cover that 9-point spread. So my lean of the day going to be the Pacers picking it up plus 9 against the Boston Celtics. All right, lock of the day here on the Daily Sports Watch. Another NBA pick coming at you. 2-1 in these as well. And Center Hill Cards has confirmed Mosaic Basketball on target right now. $29.99. Exactly. Yeah, you don't need me. The hobby doesn't need me for that anymore. So why would I keep doing it? What's the point? It's not really so much that like I'm done with Target. It's that Target is done with sports cards. So unfortunately, y'all, the way that it's been printed and the way that hits have been going, people just don't want to buy them anymore. And I think people, along with inflation and worries of a recession and the things of things costing more like eggs and milk and all that simple stuff that we need just to live, people aren't going to want to spend as much on retail boxes that offer almost no chance at big hits. They're going to put their money into hobby boxes instead. All right, anyways, lock of the day. 2-1 on these. Unfortunately, my first loss in my lock of the day came on Tuesday. I picked the Indiana Hoosiers to cover a 3.5-point spread against the Michigan State Spartans. I was wrong. They were kind of hanging in the second half. I think they were down by only 8 or 9 at one point. Indiana was. But it went pretty south for them, I think, with 8 minutes to go in the second half. Michigan State ended up winning 80-65. So that was a loss for my lock of the day on Tuesday. Lock of the day today. The Denver Nuggets are one of the league's most efficient offensive teams. So I think in their matchup with the Cleveland Cavaliers tonight, they are going to cover the 3-point spread. My lock of the day, the Denver Nuggets covering the 3-point spread against the Cleveland Cavaliers. And here's why. Averaging 117 points per game. One of the top 6 or 7 shooters in the NBA. At least from... Oh, no, never mind. They're the top shooter in the NBA. I read that wrong. They are the top shooting team in the NBA. 51% from the field, 39% from 3-point range. And their 3-game winning streak before the All-Star break was by an average of 9. They held their opponents to pretty low numbers shooting-wise. Cleveland's defense is pretty on. They held their opponents to 106 a game all season. That's first in the NBA. We've basically got two powerhouses matching up, but I think Jokic is going to be too much, and I think the Nuggets shooting is going to be too much for the Cavaliers to keep them from being beaten by less than 3. I just don't think that's going to happen. I think, or by more than 3, excuse me. I think the Nuggets are going to be there, possibly winning the game. I really like Denver to win this game, but since this is my lock of the day and not my lean of the day, I think, well, you know what? I have a good feeling they're not going to win that they're going to win this game, but if not, I know that they're going to beat the Cleveland Cavaliers at home. I don't think they've got any trouble doing that, and Denver going to handle just fine whatever's coming in with Donovan Mitchell and the Cleveland Cavaliers. Now minus Kevin Love. So lock of the day here on Thursday, February 23rd. Going to be the Nuggets plus 3 against the Cleveland Cavaliers. Steve Piero says, look out for my Cavs, baby. Look out for my Cavs. All right. I'll look out for your Cavs. All right, bro. I'm not trying to say your Cavs are bad. I'm just trying to pick a game today. And I think that particular matchup, there's some value. Denver's got a good chance. Tim, San Francisco Giants mem says Michigan State playing with heavy hearts after that school shooting. Yeah, exactly. That was something that maybe I didn't take into account. Michigan State, that was their first athletic event back for basketball after the horrible shooting over, I think it was like middle of last week. And then they suspended athletic events for 48 hours, pushing some of these games back, and that's why Michigan was playing that game when they did. So I guess they had a lot more to play for in that moment. It's kind of like when the New Orleans Saints won the Super Bowl after the hurricane destroyed their city. It was a good comeback story, and it was very emotional for that team. And here, dealing with such a tragic and horrible situation that you shouldn't have to deal with, and that we shouldn't have to deal with in this world. Yeah. Michigan State obviously had a bit of fire on their booties, and it led them to the 15-point win. Huge win. All right, y'all. Well, it's been a pretty decent show today, I'd say. Pretty good end to the week here on Real Schultzy Sports. Talked a lot of XFL. Sabrina Ionescu, I think, is really cool. We'll highlight this one more time for all y'all sports card fans out there. Sabrina Ionescu, the first WNBA 5-figure card sale. A Sabrina Ionescu 2020 Panini Prism WNBA Black Gold Rookie card selling for $10,800. First time ever that a WNBA card's reached 5 figures. I think it's cool, not only for feminism, but I think that it offers collectors another facet to the game, which we all desperately need at this point. Really does. Really helps. I mean, this hobby, I wouldn't say it's dying, but it is in need of some help, in need of some new eyes. And hey, maybe some ladies' eyes coming in, spending their money on WNBA cards will get them in on some NFL cards. Girls watch sports too, baby. Let's get them in on some cards. Let's get the creepy, seedy dude vibe out of the hobby. Hey, Ryan, yeah, so my dad is going to be coming on. He just got a microphone, and unfortunately, we haven't been able to work out exactly like he's... I'm used to setting all this up, but he's not quite as technologically savvy as me. So he's trying to figure out how to get rid of an echo, and I've got to go down and help him set that up. So once we get that all set, he's going to be making his weekly appearance here on the Daily Sports Watch, as well as I'm going to be getting another local radio personality on to make a weekly appearance on Real Schultzy Sports. His name is Will Ortner, former college football player. Tons of sports knowledge. Love the dude. We worked together at 1080 The Fan, and I wanted to bring some kind of aspect, of other sports knowledge onto the show weekly, and I think it's going to be a good change of pace just from listening to me for 4 straight days talk. So I apologize that I did not have my dad on this week, but he's going to be coming on soon, and we'll also have a guy named Will Ortner coming on every week. Tim, I don't do 3 picks every day. I just do my lean and my lock. I can't remember if I just kind of threw another pick out there. I apologize. I was talking about the other loss of that pick of the Hoosiers to the Spartans, but my 2 picks for the day, my lean of the day was the Pacers to cover over the Celtics +9. And then my lock of the day was the Nuggets to cover +3 against the Cavaliers. All right, everybody. Well, I think that's going to just about do it for this edition of the Daily Sports Watch. Talked a lot of XFL, talked about Alabama's stupidity. You got to hear me go on a rant about that. Absolutely insane that Brandon Miller was back on the court last night playing for Alabama, but that's the world we live in. I hate it. I can't stand when we don't hold people accountable. Can't stand it. What's going on? What's going on? Grail Collects, his longtime subscriber, started following you for the sports cards. Grail, I appreciate you for saying that, brother. That is awesome. Big Bensky checking in. Yo, what's up, Schultzy? Glad to see you. Hope all is well. Appreciate you, man. And yes, Grail Collect, this is just sports news now. However, I will still have, every Monday, I've got a segment called Weekly Sports Card News. It's just the weekly sports card watch, essentially, that we did every day, but I've kind of pared it down into like a 15-minute segment, giving you all the latest releases, maybe some of the highest sales of the latest cards, and the drama happening in the hobby and the latest news. So I do address that in Sports Card Weekly every Monday. Definitely don't want to leave y'all card collectors hanging. And I still have interest in sports cards, guys. I'm still going to be collecting stuff. It's just going to be more as a collector and not as a content creator doing sports cards. But I'm sure we'll have a lot to react to coming up next week. Hope y'all have a great weekend. So much to watch. Please go check out Perfect Match on Netflix if you can. And I'm excited to watch that PGA Tour look through as well. Full swing, the docuseries on just the behind-the-scenes guys' life and all that good stuff. I just can't wait. I can't wait. So go watch that along with me. I'll let you know how I enjoyed it next week. Excited to check in on Monday. Have a lot of games, both in the world of basketball and baseball. That's right, baseball. Spring training happening as well. So we'll have a lot to react to. Hope you all have a good weekend. See you Monday. Real Schultzy Sports is out. And I got to end this the way that I usually end the show every day. Somebody came up with this, so I said, all right, I'll do it. I did it my way. All right. See y'all next Monday. Be good to yourselves and each other. Peace.